Welcome to the Safe Money Retirement Show with certified financial fiduciary Tim Wood.
Let's sit down and make an actual plan, and we have definitely got to factor in that retirement danger zone. I wish to God someone had sat down and done that with my dad. We wish we would have known about these things.
Tim is a retirement and income planning expert, best-selling author, and the founder of SafeMoneyRetirement.com. Tim focuses on wealth management, retirement income, tax and long-term care planning, and so much more.
Today is your opportunity to build the tomorrow you want. You've got an 87% chance of success. Well, son, that's a 13% chance of failure.
And now, the Safe Money Retirement Show with Tim Wood.
Welcome into this week's edition of the Safe Money Retirement Show. Of course, it's all powered by SafeMoneyRetirement.com. And like we are every single week, so happy to be alongside Tim Wood. He's the founder, president, and certified financial fiduciary with Safe Money Retirement. My name's Kevin McAlpin. Hope you're having a great day. And as always, Tim and I thank you for carving out just a little part to spend with us here on the show as we help you put that plan in place for your retirement. First things first, we say hello to my good friend and, of course, the star of the show, Tim Wood. Tim, a pleasure, sir, as always. I hope you are well.
I am. It's hard to believe we're already into the second week of May, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we just put the Christmas tree up like 15 minutes ago, and here we are almost in summer.
Yeah. Well, if you still have the Christmas decor up, we'll let you slide as well. We're glad to have you with us here on the show. And Tim, we do have a lot to get to. And, you know, speaking of the fact that we're in May, this will be about the second time this year that we've seen one of these surveys come out. It comes out about once every 3 months, where Bankrate surveys economists on the odds that we could see us slump into a recession. Well, economist Mark Hamrick has the results for this most recent go-round. Take a listen.
They say that the risk of a recession over the next 12 months is roughly 1 in 3. So that suggests that it is far from a sure thing. Broadly, I would say the economists look for some improvement in the job market if you look at the hiring trends over the next year. And they look for the unemployment rate to tiptoe slightly higher, but not falling out of bed, so to speak. And so what I would say is that if the economists are right, and that's always a big question mark, that we should look for a measure of stability. But as we've seen, these events that occur around the world, those are big determinants. These predictions may be undermined by the unfolding of events.
All right, so what I gather from that soundbite, Tim, is that even the economists are saying a recession isn't a sure thing. They're saying 1 out of 3 chance. So let me ask you, for someone listening today, they're close to retirement. Does that 33% chance really matter when it comes to their financial planning?
Buddy, it sure would with mine.
Right.
I mean, if you were going into retirement, would you want a 33% chance of the market crashing or a recession or any of that stuff? And this goes back to things that, for people that listen all the time, this really goes back to that sequence of returns risk that you've heard Kevin and I talk about before, that I've got a whole section about in my book, Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success. That is what happened to my dad. If my dad had retired and the crash hadn't happened for 10, 15, 20 years after he retired, they would have been much better off, and he would have never had to go back to work. The problem is the crash and the recession happened almost right after he retired. So in my opinion, yeah, I mean, I sure wouldn't want to do anything. I mean, if we were playing Russian roulette and there were 3 you had a 33% chance that the bullet was going to come out of the gun, would you want to play that game?
I don't think so.
That's not good odds. I mean, that's really not good odds. If we're saying there's a 33% chance that the Braves might win the World Series this year, that's pretty good odds. I'll take that.
Yeah, sure.
But no babies are going to die if they don't. You know what I'm saying? In retirement, man, you get 1 at bat. That's it. There are you're not getting back up in the 4th and you're not getting back up in the 7th. You get 1 at bat. That's it.
Yeah.
If you do it wrong, if you foul it off, if you strike out, guess what? You're done. You're done. So you got to make sure you get this right. So yeah, to me, 33% odds of there being a recession means you need to make sure that you're prepared. It means while we're still up at record highs or close to record highs, that's the time to make your move. When do you make your move? You make your move, you sell high, you buy low. We have heard that since the dawn of the dawn of the market. That's how you do it. That's how you make money. Unfortunately, most people do the opposite. because they see the stock start going down and down and down and down, and then that's when they sell. But the smart people, that's when they're buying. You know what I mean? So you buy low and you sell high. Well, we're high. We're still pretty high right now. In my opinion, this is the time to make a wise move some of that money over to some safe products that's going to give you income, that's going to give you growth, that's going to cover your long term, that's going to make sure you've got the money to pass on to generations to come. Whatever it is that you're looking to do, we can do that, but doing it while we're still where the market is now, because if that recession comes, it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect everything. It's going to affect inflation. It's going to affect the market. It's going to affect elections. I mean, do you not think that they are going to rig this before the midterms? I mean, come on. Even if a recession is coming, chances are it would start and I'm exaggerating, but the day after the midterms, right? I mean, if you don't think people are manipulating this, then you are mistaken, sadly. So, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, just having someone from a very reputable source like Bankrate say that there's a 1 in 3 chance, that's a red flag.
Right.
There should be sirens going off in people's heads right now going, oh my gosh, a 1 in 3 chance. Well, what happens if that does happen? Well, look it up. Google what happens in a recession. Go ahead. I'll wait because you're not going to like the results. Right. I mean, you're going to read them and you're going to go, honey, if this happens, how are we going to survive? We're going to have to keep working until we die. Well, let's make a plan. Sit down with someone like me that's a certified financial fiduciary. Let's make an overall plan of your retirement. So if something does happen, if a market crash happens, if a recession happens, if even worse, it turns into a depression, whatever, let's make sure we've got a plan for you so it doesn't really, it's still going to impact you, but let's try to minimize that impact. And we want to do that while the market's high. You need to care about you. You need to get with someone that can help you make the best plan for you so you don't have to worry about any of this garbage. Would a recession hurt everybody? Yes. But I'll tell you what, it's sure going to hurt my clients a whole lot less than it's going to hurt those that are all still exposed to all of these list of risks. And Kevin, we need to do a show really soon. I've got a whole list of like 15 risks in retirement.
Yeah. One
of these days soon, we should do a show on all of those risks and go through each and every single one of them. Because, I mean, that might put some people into therapy because there are so many risks in retirement.
Right.
And if we can take a bunch of them off the table, why wouldn't you? And that's exactly what we do.
Yeah. Well, if you're hearing some of the headlines screaming about the possibility of a recession and you're getting closer to retirement, maybe it's got you a little uneasy at this moment. You'd like to sit down with Tim Wood and his team at Safe Money Retirement and start putting a plan in place that isn't reliant on all the latest headlines out of D.C. and out of Wall Street and anything you're going to see and hear on the news and social media. It all starts with one phone call to Safe Money Retirement. And here's what we're going to do, folks. For our first 5 callers, you pick up the phone, you schedule that time, that 15-minute discovery call with Tim and his team. He's also going to throw in a complimentary copy of that book he mentioned just moments ago. It's called Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success. So if you'd like to get that time to speak with Tim scheduled right now, 800-913-SAFE. Again, it's 800-913-7233. That website, again, is safemoneyretirement.com. Again, it's safemoneyretirement.com.
It's now time for our Safe Money Story of the Week. Visit safemoneystories.com to view more.
For this week's Safe Money Story of the Week, I want to talk about a client that I had about 3 weeks ago. He actually is a college professor and been divorced for about 10 or 15 years. His wife was also a professor, so she had her own good sources of income, so there wasn't like any alimony or any of that garbage. So he basically was just on his own, planning his own thing. His main thing is exactly what we were just talking about, and that is worrying about a recession, a market crash. He even used the word depression. What happens if we have another Great Depression? Well, first of all, I don't think that's going to happen, but it could. I mean, 100 years ago, no one thought that was going to happen either, and then 1929 came about. So pray to God that doesn't happen in 2029, right? But it could. Let's make a plan. In my book, I talk about one of the sections is called The Financial Harbinger. and I talk about what was the absolute worst time in the history of the United States, and that was the Great Depression financially. That was the worst time in our history. There were literally a handful of companies that thrived during the Great Depression. Guess what one of them was? Life insurance companies. Guess who does annuities? Life insurance companies. Are y'all seeing where I'm going with this? Nothing is 100% guaranteed. The oxygen we breathe is not 100% guaranteed. But this is the safest investments that I know of. So what I did was I talked to him and I'm like, listen, right now, he had a 403Bs. He had multiple from different schools he had taught at. So what we did was we took from all of the old 403Bs, because once you've moved and you don't work for a certain place, now you can take all of that money and do whatever you want with it, even if you're not 59 and a half. We took all of those from his old employers, created guaranteed income plans and growth plans, and we also created some of those inflation buster plans y'all have heard me talk about. So we created one big income plan that was going to go with his Social Security. When he retired, that was going to cover all of his base expenses. Then we got him a couple of those smaller inflation buster plans that are just going to keep growing every single year until at some point he decides to turn them on to be able to counteract, massive inflation through a recession or whatever happens. And then the rest of it, we put just into growth plans. And his current 403B plan, because he was over 59 and a half, he contacted his work and he was able to do what's called a partial in-service withdrawal, or actually transfer. Let me not use the word withdrawal, because withdrawal means you're taking the money out and paying the taxes. That's not what he did. He did a partial in-service transfer, which means he moved some of the money out of that 403B, all of the money out of the other 403Bs. So we had a nice chunk and we divvied it between multiple types of plans. But when he left, guess what? The money that's still in his current 403B, which he had to leave open because he's still working there, his employer, which is a school, is still contributing, and so is he, so we can't close it. That money is still at risk. But we took a vast majority of all of his stuff and put it in safe things. So when he walked out of here, man, he was smiling ear to ear. You could almost see his shoulders were 3 inches down from where they were. Just a complete difference in appearance and, his whole energy, his aura, everything was different about him because he knew that, if we have something really bad happen, that he would be protected because, again, he was just worried about himself and making sure they never even had any kids. He literally was just worried about himself. So we got him into plans. He's going to have enough income. He's going to be able to retire on track no matter what happens in the market, no matter if there is a recession. We got that money protected with an A-rated life insurance company, so he never has to worry about it again.
If you're in a similar situation and you'd like to have conversations with Tim Wood and the team at Safe Money Retirement, whether it's guaranteed streams of income in your retirement, Social Security, we talk about that all the time on the show, life insurance, and so much more. That's why Tim and his team, folks, they're just a phone call away. You want to get on their calendar? There's no cost. There's no obligation. 800-913-SAFE. Again, that's 800-913-7233 or online anytime. That website, once again, is safemoneyretirement.com. Again, it's safemoneyretirement.com. All right, when we return, how about a little lingo lesson? Yeah, that's right. We're going to dive into some financial jargon that you might not fully understand. We'll get Tim's thoughts on that, plus more, as we continue with the Safe Money Retirement Show right after this.
Hey, it's Glenn Beck. Do you still have all of your retirement money at risk in the market? Most know that I don't do that. It's way too dangerous, in my opinion, at least. The fact the market could fall off a cliff tomorrow, yet many don't have an expert you can trust. Let me tell you about Tim Wood. Now, he's the owner of Safe Money Retirement. That's a certified financial fiduciary and a best-selling author. I met Tim personally, and I can tell you that he and his team can help you plan your own guaranteed lifetime income streams to cover you and your spouse and grow your money while protecting it from a market crash. Go to safemoneyretirement.com/Beck or call 800-913-SAFE to schedule a no-obligation free 15-minute discovery call with Tim. You know I just don't trust anyone, and so do your own homework with Tim at safemoneyretirement.com/Beck and book your free discovery call with Tim online or call 800-913-SAFE and get started today.
It is the Safe Money Retirement Show, and we're happy to have you with us. Alongside Tim Wood. You know him. You hear him on the show every week. Of course, he's the founder, president, and certified financial fiduciary with Safe Money Retirement. My name's Kevin McAlpin. Hope you're having a great day. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about any of the topics that Tim and I are covering on the show, safemoneyretirement.com is your best place to start. Again, it's safemoneyretirement.com. So, Tim, I wanted to have a little fun with you on the show this week. One thing that I think we all can agree on is that every generation has really been known for their own slang words, right? My grandparents used to say swell, while baby boomers will tell you to split. Meanwhile, you'll hear millennials use the term adulting. Yeah, you got to go adult again today. And children like mine, they're using Riz and low key. Now, I've got a feeling, Tim Wood, you're turning your head like a dog that just heard a weird noise. I'm assuming Riz and low key, not part of Tim Wood's vernacular as of yet.
Well, low key, but I don't know if it means the same thing I'm thinking. I mean, in my opinion, low key just means something's chill. You know what I mean? It's just something's low key. I've used that, but I don't know if that's still what it means or not.
I don't know either. Riz, and then there's no
I've
cap.
never heard of Riz.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that either. Yeah, I have no idea what Riz means or cap or any of that. I mean, cap is a cap rates that we have in our plans. That's the only cap I know of.
Yeah, I can promise you my 10-year-old and 11-year-old. Well, he's now 11-year-old. Happy birthday, by the way, Max. He's not using he's not using cap as a financial term.
Probably not.
Let me just put it that way.
Unless he's a prodigy. And if he is, then I need to meet him.
Baseball prodigy, yes. Maybe not school prodigy.
Maybe not financial?
We'll work on it. Yeah, he's got plenty of time. We got a long way to go. But, Tim, the reason I bring it up is sometimes you'll hear these terms. You might have to go to Google to figure out what they actually mean. But retirement has also really undergone the same evolution, hasn't it? Where some of the words, some of the terms, some of the things that we hear quite often on shows like this one, we might try to use them, but we might not necessarily fully understand what they mean. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Kevin. And as you know, I was just with a whole team just a couple of weeks ago recording some audio-visual stuff that's going to be on my Facebook and LinkedIn and all of that, talking about some of these terms. That's specifically what we were recording so we can get this information out there in more of a mass media type of a thing. One of the main things, RMDs. I have people, and it's not every day, but at least every week, I have someone call up the office and say, what's an RMD? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Really? You're 73 and you don't know what an RMD is? Well, no. What am I supposed to do? Okay. Well, first of all, welcome to the world. But an RMD, real quick, it's required minimum distribution. Once you get to 73, there's a required minimum that you have to take out because the government wants their taxes. It's kind of like a story that I tell. Imagine you were back in your 20s and you were getting your very first house. And the mortgage guy came to you and your wife and said, Kevin, congratulations. You and Melissa got this first house. You got your financing. You can move in. Congratulations. But I'm not going to tell you what interest rate you're going to pay on your mortgage until 30 years from now. And whatever the rates are 30 years from now, we're going to calculate how much extra you owe, and that's what you're going to pay in interest. Mm-hmm. Would you take that deal?
Yeah, probably not.
No, I don't think anyone listening would. But guess what? That's exactly what we did with these pre-tax accounts.
Yeah.
We started saving in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and here we are in the middle of the 2020s. We've saved all this money, and guess what? Now we have to pay taxes on it. Mm-hmm. Now, luckily, we are still at relatively low tax rates. We're still in the quote-unquote Trump tax code, so we're still doing well, but we don't know what those tax codes are going to be 3 years from now. Right. We don't know what those tax codes are going to be 7 years from now. I could keep going 11 years from now. Every 4 years, we're going to get someone new, and it's only a matter of time until someone gets in there and their whole goal is going to be actually cutting the deficit, because we know that certainly hasn't happened. And the only ways to do that is to significantly cut benefits or raise taxes. Guess what that's going to do to your RMDs? Yeah. So that's one thing you've really got to think about, and that's something that we plan for. Plan for those RMDs. You know you're going to have to take them out. Are there some ways to get around RMDs? Yes. We could do Roth conversions right now. That's another catch term. We could do Roth conversions now while we're still in the lower Trump tax codes. Once you've got everything converted to Roth, RMDs, poof.
Yeah.
They are no more. RMDs are only on money you still owe tax on. So Roth conversions is another big thing. Roth conversions is paying the taxes now at the rates now. Now, does that sting a little bit? Yes, but then they're done. And the great thing with Roth plans, obviously you don't pay any money on the principal again, but as long as a Roth plan has been in place for 5 years, you don't pay taxes on the growth either. Mm-hmm. Great things. Another one is IRMAA. I call her anti-IRMAA. IRMAA is basically if you make too much money, your Medicare premiums are going to skyrocket. I mean, and I've got a client that we just figured out IRMAA. It's going to be over $400 extra per month. Per month.
That adds up in a hurry.
Because of his income.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is getting a little in the weeds, but IRMAA is actually, the way that they actually determine IRMAA is what your income was 2 years ago. So whatever your income is now, if you've got Medicare 2 years from now, IRMAA is going to be determined by what your income is in 2026 if you're starting Medicare in 2028. That's how IRMAA works. You need to have someone that understands it. You need to have someone that can help you plan for it. Rollovers. How do you roll over money from an old 401k, from an old 403b, from that TSP from when you used to work at the post office or whatever? What can you do? There's a big difference between rollovers and withdrawals. A rollover, you're just moving the money and the IRS has absolutely no cares because as far as they're concerned, it's in one pre-tax account and it went to another pre-tax account. It's nothing. But if you withdraw it, now you've got to take all the money out and you got to pay taxes on all of it. So we need to make sure that it's done wisely. We need to make sure that everything is done tax smart for you because that's a huge thing. If you looked on my business card, I don't have one right here in front of me. Literally the very first thing that says on my business card is retirement tax planning. That is the number one thing on my business card. Huge. People don't think about it. A couple other things really quick. Longevity risk and sequence of returns risk and replacement rates. All of these, replacement rate, I actually call it reinvestment risk. So all three of these things, longevity risk, living longer than your money, outliving your money. That is the number one risk people face. We can fix that with guaranteed income and with those inflation buster plans y'all hear me talk about. Sequence of returns risk. This is what happened to my dad. If something happens in the market within the first few years of your retirement, it is massively more detrimental to your long-term retirement than if something happens 10, 15, 20 years into your retirement. But we don't know when the next market event's going to happen. We can get you away from that risk by getting you into a plan that you can't lose any if the market goes down. Replacement risk or reinvestment risk. That's if you do something like, for example, like a CD type plan. You can still get decent CD type rates right now. And let's say you got one for 3 years. Okay, great. The problem is now in 3 years, you have got to reinvest that at whatever the rates are. And what if the rates have gone down by half in 3 years? Right now, you could get 4.5, and in 3 years, you can only get 2.25. That could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you remember back in 2017, 2018, 2019, the rates were awful. That we could go back to that at any time. So making sure that you're prepared. And then the very last thing, portfolio diversification. We talked about this last week's show a lot. And it's very important to diversify your portfolio. But what I want people to think more about rather than just diversifying the portfolio, if you're 25 or 30 listening, absolutely. Get with your guy, diversify your portfolio, make sure you're ready to make moves on the, if the market goes down, if it goes up, make sure you're ready to make those moves. If you're getting close to retirement, you don't need to make those moves. You need to make the move away from risk and into safe money products so you don't have to worry about it.
If you'd like to learn more, maybe you've heard some of these terms thrown about over the years, and you're looking for a little more clarity on how it could impact you when it comes to your retirement planning, look no further than Tim Wood. Of course, you hear him on the show every week, the founder, president, and certified financial fiduciary with Safe Money Retirement. And folks, if you want to get on his calendar, you want to schedule that 15-minute discovery call, there's no cost, there's no obligation. All you need to do is pick up the phone right now. And here's what we're going to do for our first 5 callers $50. You schedule that discovery call with Tim. He's going to throw in a complimentary copy of his book as well. It's called Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success. 800-913-SAFE. That's 800-913-7233. Online at safemoneyretirement.com. That's safemoneyretirement.com. And Tim, I do want to kind of backtrack a little bit, because one of the things you mentioned with the terminology was longevity risk. And I know that it's a story that I saw a long time ago that nearly 70% of folks more concerned with outliving their money than they are of the Grim Reaper themselves. Think about that for a minute, right? You're growing up, you think about death in one light or another, but people are way more concerned about outliving their savings than they are. And really, when you think about it, with longevity risk, the risk isn't dying. The risk is living. And that's where you can really help put a plan together that can help mitigate some of that risk.
Absolutely. That is literally the number one risk that I work with clients to take off the table. That is the very first thing that we take off the table. Having enough income to cover your bills totally gets rid of that longevity risk.
Yeah.
That's it. That is the number one risk. Now, there's several others it gets rid of. The sequence of returns, the reinvestment. There's several others that it kills off too. But yeah, that number one right there, running out of money before you run out of life. That's it. That's the biggest fear people have, and getting rid of that is huge. That's why you need to be with a retirement specialist that can help you with all of these crazy retirement terms and make sure you understand everything for yourself.
And that guy is Tim Wood. He's the certified financial fiduciary. He's also the founder and president of SafeMoneyRetirement.com. And if you want to get on his calendar today, folks, there's no cost, there's no obligation. Quickest and easiest way you can do that is by visiting SafeMoneyRetirement.com. Again, that's SafeMoneyRetirement.com. And who knows, maybe Tim will even throw a couple of vocabulary words at you you've never even heard before. Maybe he'll give you some new ones you can learn about along the way. Again, SafeMoneyRetirement.com to reach Tim Wood and his team. Well, my friend, it's been another great show here today. I have enjoyed the time with you as always. And Tim, before we're out of time on the show, the floor is once again all yours for the final word.
Thank you, Kevin. As always, fantastic show. Hope everyone enjoyed it. We went through a lot of great stuff, man. It just seems like the shows just keep getting better and better every week, in my opinion, brother.
Yeah.
We talked about a bunch of really great things. The very last thing that we talked about was all those terms. Those definitely are things you need to know. And I'm going to point right back to my book, Safe Money Retirement, Your Game Plan for Success, because every single one of those terms that we talked about, guess what? It's in the book. If you don't have a copy of the book, give us a call or just get on our calendar and let us get you a copy of the book. And it's really going to give you, like a bachelor's level degree knowledge of retirement, reading a book for about 2 hours. So I highly recommend that. But what I want to close on is going back to what we talked about the very beginning of this show. For those of y'all that don't remember, we were talking about the recession odds, that we've got about a 1 in 3 chance of being in recession in the next 12 months. Now, if we push that time out even further, guess what? Those odds would go higher. If we said in the next 24 months, it's going to be less than 1 in 3. Is that a little scary? Yes. There's a lot of things that are scary these days. I mean, my gosh, we could talk about that for a whole show, easy. But what you need to think about for yourself in your retirement is what can you do to help you prepare for your retirement, to make sure that if a recession happens, if this market bubble that we're in bursts, if another war breaks out, if this, if that, I mean, we could come up with a million things. You need to know that your retirement is safe so you can have your own safe money retirement.
The preceding information does not represent tax, legal, or investment advice. Obviously, by contacting us now, you are only taking the first step towards protecting your retirement. No information presented today should be acted upon without meeting with a qualified, licensed insurance professional. It is important that you read all insurance contract disclosures carefully before making a purchase decision. Interest and other guarantees in annuity contracts are subject to the claims-paying ability of the insurance carrier that issued the contract. The tax consequences of annuity income should be considered with the help of a licensed tax professional. Rates and returns mentioned on this program may vary based on state availability and are subject to change without notice.